Today's podcast, we're going to talk about all things money and business decisions you made about money and how that might have impacted your business moving forward. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment below times you either spent money, didn't like it, or spent money and it worked out.
Dinosaur from Jurassic Park.
Oh, it's the amber.
The amber.
You know that made perfect sense from that movie. I didn't see any problem with that at all.
Wow.
So okay, all right. So today we're talking about money, and ideally, someone who's been in business for at least a little bit of time kind of develops a rule about spending money. You know, because there's two personalities when it comes to spending money, right? There's the person who is like gonna buy all the things. Gonna buy all the things.
I like
And
how
then
you're pointing at me.
Oh, I wasn't pointing at all. That was just entirely unintentional.
Sure
Uh-huh.
was it?
Maybe it was just a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
And then there's a person who's not. And you know, there's a personality that's going to save money and who isn't very interested in new and is more interested in just cranking things out, you know? And it's kind of like you two. Like you guys are on different
Well,
Yeah, when
Sides
Ron
of the
I'm
spectrum
okay with
shows
spending
up every
money
day.
in certain areas. We both just spend money in different areas.
Right,
That's it.
right. Okay. So, but there
His
With
is
different
wine.
with different philosophies.
But
right?
typically, if you've been in, what I've discovered is that if you've been in business for a while, you kind of develop rules because when I first started seeing like some real success in my business, I went from being like nervous to spend $7 growing up. If it was a $7 purchase that was like a book, I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So how long will I enjoy this? Will I read it again? Can I? And I was like making bargains with myself on $7. But then when I first started experiencing like success in business, I went a little crazy and was just making purchases all the time, which is really easy to do with photography and videography. So over time, I developed rules about purchases because I was realizing I was adding things that were creating more frustration because I was adding things that weren't being implemented in my workflow, and I was adding things. So I guess I developed a couple rules, but I'm really curious to know what are your rules for spending money?
There is a dopamine effect you get, though, when you do get to the level of success and you start spending money and you buy something. There's this weird sense of accomplishment that you get from it.
Yeah.
And it makes you want to, it can become, it's a bad habit. And it's not just how to be in business, it's in anything. Gambling is a perfect way of explaining that. But when you buy at something, it's like, yeah, you haven't made it, but you feel like it's a check off list to get to the next level.
And before you know it, you have an entire closet full of empty Apple boxes from all the Apple products that you bought.
Let me
But
explain
they're
to you.
trophies.
Let me explain
trophies
to how
for
much
the
he does not understand.
I understand the
No,
resale
yeah.
value.
I can give two shits about the box. When you go to resell an Apple product, if you have its original packaging, you will
Same with
get.
cameras.
I get
yes,
it. Yes.
you will
Yeah.
get more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
same
that's
with-
it's a smart strategy, right? I'm not denying that.
I don't keep boxes of every other thing that we have.
See, this is where our philosophies are very different, though, right?
Mhm.
It's very smart. He's doing it for a savvy reason, right? But he's also doing it because he knows he's gonna want the new Mac thing before that Mac thing is driven to the ground, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, it's about driving it to the ground.
Yes. Yeah. So
It's about just
that's the way I
getting
handle
it
car
once,
purchases.
and I'm just gonna hammer it until it's useless, right? Until the pain means I have to get the next
But
one.
see, that level of stress that's in business that's being caused of something that could just be fixed within an instant like that makes no sense to me.
Okay, so those are a different set of rules, and you guys both have them for different reasons. Like I get the wanting to drive something into the ground, and I get the idea of selling it before it's worthless and getting the maximum amount of resale, and then getting something new so you're up to date. you know?
I am buying time
Okay, so that's your rule. You're buying time.
back and not being frustrated like, why is this so slow or sitting there? Because that's something you can't get back.
Yeah, and that's how his mind works, right? He's always thinking about things that will improve systems, will make things better, and many times that's things, physical things. And I'm never ever thinking about physical things, right? Because I just don't think about things much. But I'm thinking about something that could either improve top-line revenue or improve morale and team building. Those are the two areas that I set, right? Where it's like, if this is a benefit that's going to improve the team, and the team's
Really?
going to feel better about it, Like he knows
That's
that the best way to sell me on that like movie popcorn thing, right? Which I never eat popcorn, and I don't think I've ever once used it. But we have a movie popcorn maker in the office.
You do use it for when you do grab candy out of the thing. You've used it. You just didn't use it for
I
popcorn.
turned it for one thing of Skittles at one time. Right?
Okay, but the
point was he sold me on it because it was a morale thing, right? It was like my question was, will people in the office use it? And he's like, yes, we will use it. And we use it, and the team likes it.
I will
so
use it.
it improves team. It improves
your morale's
the team,
important too, Ryan.
Environment, and it was important to me for that reason. Otherwise, it has
same thing
no
with a kegerator.
So interesting. So interesting. So
that was an easier sell.
You're making.
And we've actually used it way less.
I know we have.
used it one time. the easiest
say-
sale we've used. Sorry to cut you off. The easiest sale was the kegerator versus the popcorn machine, which was a little bit harder. And it's used way more often. Priorities are
For the audience, so the audience knows. Fresh Move has a popcorn maker, and it also has you said it called it a kegerator.
kegerator.
So
Beer on tap.
Yep.
Yeah. So they have those things, which is not typical, but anyway.
Well, it's typical for a tech company.
Creative agency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah.
The more you know.
We just
all
don't
right.
have
So
nap pods.
you're making decisions based on like morale because you see dollar amounts in those, or you see a quality of.
I see assets in our people.
Mhm.
I also see ways that we can improve top line revenue, because if top line revenue is improved, the whole business grows.
Mhm.
Right? So it's about, one of the things I think a lot of new business owners struggle with is like, should I spend money on marketing, for example, right?
Yeah, it's a big freaking question.
Yeah, the rule of practice or the rule of thumb in any business that's well established is typically you spend about 20% of top line revenue on marketing dollars, right? Some businesses is different. Maybe their margins are much slimmer, right? And other businesses, margins are much higher, so you might spend a lot more on marketing, right? But that's kind of the rule of thumb. But if you're a new business owner and you're picking where you're going to spend money, a lot of times that's an area that they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, because word of mouth is free.
Yeah, exactly.
And
right?
that's like the lifeblood when you start.
Totally. But then there comes a point where you want to scale beyond word of mouth, right?
Gosh.
And when you want to scale beyond word of mouth, you have to invest dollars into marketing because otherwise you'll just die in secret.
Yeah. It's a scary thing. And it's a scary
People
thing.
won't know you exist,
And
which means your business dies.
What's really interesting about that is you're so right. Like you're on the when you're at that point, you're at like a precipice, right? You're either going to like die in secret, like you said, like staying still feels like the option, right? Because you're not making a decision, but you're actually not. You are actually making a decision by that, and by not moving forward, you're just like, oh.
But aesthetics also plays a huge role into it as well. There will be some business owners that don't want to spend the money and minimize and want to like it's not slow, but a slim down ship, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is then you look cheap, and if you look cheap, you can't ask for more money. You can't. It's just hard to dictate that. So like when we do our film production, like
so the audience knows, Ryan is absolutely our aesthetic czar.
So
before we start a take,
it plays into perception as far as into other people's reality as far as what they think about you.
Yeah.
And then we'll judge you on that fact, and then you can ask for a higher price tag on certain things
because of the way things feel.
Yeah, if someone feels good about it as far as the way your office looks and how you guys operate, then paying you X number of zeros on a paycheck or a check to you is justified in their manner. It's just another aspect of sales.
That's really interesting because it's kind of that way with cameras, right? So for a long time, before cameras started getting really small, people would buy big cameras that weren't as good as the newer small cameras because of client perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we would, I held on to this Panasonic EVA 1 for a while because that camera was just first of all, it was a dream to work with, but it looked really good. It looked like a Red camera. Red is a brand.
Like imagine like the camera on this iPhone 13 Pro that I have. It's a nice camera, and I'm pretty certain it's a nicer camera than some DSLRs you can get at the store that you pay $500-600 for.
It's a little concerning how fast they're catching up.
But imagine say if you are a film production agency and you want to charge this client $15,000 to do a video, and you show up with an iPhone 13 on a tripod, what's that perception going to be like when
and it doesn't even matter if theoretically you have a whole lighting setup and you have other things. If you're using something that they already own,
personally,
right, they think, oh, we could have done this ourselves.
It's the payment's not justified.
Yeah.
It could be a great product. Apple has done a commercial shot entirely like the Lady Gaga commercial, shot entirely on the iPhone 13 or whatever. But also is heavily edited and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day,
professional lighting,
it's the person is gonna, if they're gonna be paying a big budget, they want that big budget look and feel too, because it's just that
they want to feel justified.
Yeah, it gives that real textured. Trying to describe it in a way.
Appearance matters.
Yes, appearance does matter. So, hence with our office and the way it looks like, we get compliments all the time of how nice this office looks. And that does play a huge part into aesthetics and us asking for that, because then we look more legit. Not that we're not.
And to Ryan's point
we look
too,
established.
Yeah, and there are ways to give that perception without spending buku amounts of dollars, right? Like this background, building this ourselves instead of
hiring it out.
Yeah, hiring it out, right? So there are ways to still minimize it.
It was me watching a 10-minute YouTube video. I'm like, oh, that's easy. Granted, I already had all the tools to do it.
Yeah.
It's like all those DIY. We built this DIY dining room table for $200. Oh, you just need $3,000 worth of tools in order to do it.
Exactly. Hey, so Cody, what are some of your philosophies or rules, if you will, about spending money?
Don't. For me, because I'm so young. I mean, I've been less than a year now. I mean, I was buying things that I needed. I bought myself an iPad Pro, and I was like, oh yeah, I could use this for notes. It's great. I abuse it all the time. But I can't spend money right now because I'm trying to build a savings. So my philosophy right now is just don't spend money. I have to save for infrastructure costs. I have to save to make sure that I can keep the lights on for certain businesses, because if I don't pay that, then all their stuff turns off, which is a big problem. So my philosophy is don't spend money. I don't even pay myself right now. It's like money in, money out, and I'm just building. And then I'm building so that I can pay for marketing, because client acquisition, like we talked before, is going to be the hardest, especially where I'm at. So I don't spend any money.
Yep.
Absolutely none. I try not to. I'm like, why am I spending this money? If it's for any reason, it's for research for a client, building out some kind of architecture for a client, and then having them pay it back.
Something has a direct return on investment,
Pretty much.
right? That
But
you
you're
can
not-
straight line justify.
You're
much,
not tangible heavy though, with your business. Like you're doing IT. A lot of it is like all in your head, and it's your skill as a person.
Well, you have server costs.
Infrastructure costs. Paying
infrastructure
for
costs.
stuff like that. I mean, the majority of the cost right now is IT consulting, right? I mean, that's my time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, being able to leverage other services to do that and automate that for me, that I would pay for that in a heartbeat. But you still have to have that kind of oversight too.
Right.
So my time is obviously very hard to not spend money on.
So would you spend money on education?
Oh, definitely. I'm actually going for several certs right now.
Yeah.
Because like one certification, your CISSP, which is like one of your highest credential certifications you can get, is so that you can be classified as a security practitioner. And that's $1,000 cert.
Yeah.
So, and for you to buy that gives you the ability to say, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And you pass the certification, you have to get endorsed by another individual that's already passed it.
That seems like a tough industry to grow as far as people go.
Oh yeah, I mean,
for
IT
you to
has
for you to hire another IT guy that can do what you do seems like that would be it would. So there's a big positive in that, like it's all in your, like you're investing in the things that you're putting in your head, and you're putting it, and then but then like that's a positive because you don't have to carry it around with you. You don't have to worry about resale. You don't have to worry about a closet full of Apple boxes. But like then when it comes to like offloading that, it's like you're gonna have to transfer that.
You can't just do a brain dump into another person.
Yeah, you can't just do a brain dump.
So in IT, as any other business industry, is documentation is the most hated thing ever, but it is one of the most important things you can do. It's getting hit by a bus philosophy. Ryan gets hit by a bus. He handles finances, operations, marketing, Google ads. If he gets hit by a bus tonight, how's Fresh Move Media going to continue to operate and have that transition period? does he have all the credentials to log into every single client that he used to manage? Does he have
Well, it's a reason we have insurance policies on both of us, right?
Oh, sure.
So
well,
financially, and you're
is one
talking
coverage,
about
yeah.
the
processes,
actual, yes,
procedures.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yep.
like how the standards and policies of what to do and what not to do. That's my industry. It's like there are certifications. One of them is ISO 27001. Big corporations go after that to have documentation and policies in place so that people have a standardized things of doing things. And there's plenty of them. I can go down a whole list
That's
of just
super fascinating.
acronyms. But I mean, there's a reason for that, is because you are replaceable in a system. But if you don't have a standardization of practices and procedures, then you waste money on training people.
But am I protecting myself in
That's
my
hard to
place in the
swallow.
Oh
company?
yeah, job security by being the only one.
Yeah.
But again,
Sitting there,
in IT, we
I
call
know
that
the
separation.
passwords.
We have different ways of combating that. We have separation of duties, so you can't be the only one that does that one thing, because that's an insider threat.
Why not?
Yeah.
Because
Well, and I think it's interesting how each of us, based on kind of our philosophies around spending money, have migrated into industries that are similar to those things, right? So, for example, Cody is convincing businesses to spend money on IT services, and that's all about minimizing risk, right? It's about, hey, you have all of this potential threats out there, security threats, issues within your company, things that could go wrong, and I'm going to help you minimize that risk.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like convincing businesses to spend money on marketing because you don't want to die in irrelevance, right? The same thing is true for our business, right? We want Fresh Move to grow, and so we have to be willing to invest into things that will create top-line revenue, right? For you, it's about, speed and reliability of equipment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Those
So- Oh, go ahead.
I would say rules. If I'm gonna abide by a rule before I make a purchase, it has to pass the speed and reliability test, right? Is it going to make me faster? And am I going to reliably use it? Okay, and that's not the same thing as saying. That's not the same thing as asking if a thing is reliable. I'm also that's important, but I'm also asking, am I going to reliably use it? Will it fit into the workflow? Because there is so much photography stuff to that everyone is trying to sell, because everyone's trying to be a photographer, and so but so much of that, it's like pampered chef items, right? And so it's photography is littered with the pampered chef curse. Like, there's a lot of pampered chef items that are sold that you don't need. You don't need most of those things, and I think
you don't need like a coconut knife or something,
right? Right, yeah. So it's like there's a lot of things that workflow solves. Like, there's a lot of people who get really computer happy with video editing, and they're just like, let me just spend $6,000 on this computer and then I'll be good for 3 years. But with video editing, like, the thing is, there's a lot. I spoke to
a nice little PC right there. That's a nice setup.
Yeah. Well, listen, I spoke to an editor for Blackmagic, right? Blackmagic. I was in Vegas, and I was at a class for DaVinci Resolve, and the editor was like one of their main editors. He told me everyone here has a better computer than me. He said it is not a professional practice to try and buy your way out of every situation. He said your workflow is way more important than your equipment. And he said everyone here has better computer than me. I just use proxies. And so he taught me proxy workflow, and I was just like, oh, thank God. Like, because that changed a lot of things for me, because I was buying so many things to try and solve problems, and things should only be bought to solve problems after you already know how to do it. You should never be using your gear as a crutch, I think.
So would you say the life-size cutout of Ryan Reynolds that I have in the front of the office, it doesn't solve anything, or just
That's up for you to decide.
So fun fact about that, that picture I posted on social media yesterday, got a lot of people laughing at it, but it's already quite an appointment that we have an exploratory meeting with the guy next week.
Interesting.
Because he saw a post, saw Freshman Media, like, hey, what does Freshman Media do or whatever, and went down an explanation. He's like, yeah, I have this app I'm trying to launch, need help with film and marketing. and we have a meeting set up next week.
And now I'm sold on
cool.
buying cutouts from Amazon.
That was-
when he originally bought it, I was like, what the hell is this? But now it's improving
that
top line
was-
revenues. So.
that was $67 well spent.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Ryan Reynolds.
You have no
Uh,
idea what's gonna work sometimes.
With $67? What? That's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Keep the invoices to yourself,
Oh
Ryan.
my god.
Don't let him see that.
And then that mini
The
version
miniature
of
Danny DeVito?
was $27.
$27. Miniature version of a miniature man, Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
I love it though. It is great.
So
It
that was
brought one smile to my face. It was a $27 smile.
I did it for
I
more. I
walked
did.
into the
I
office.
bought that for more like morale or just funny reasons to little Easter eggs throughout the office, and it creeps everyone out when they walk by the bathroom. So that's why it's even better.
How much was this thing?
Like $10.
$100.
Okay.
It was cheap.
All right. All right.
Um,
I mean, it's
so
cool. I
87,
like
so
it.
we
That's
have
decoration for the office. So, or
$67
for the
bucks for
podcast.
Ryan Reynolds, another $40 for Danny DeVito,
But
another $10. So you spent
if-
$110 on trinkets. Love it.
But if we close that client,
It'll be worth it.
it'll be well worth it.
Yes.
If I'm at level of advertising, it took me literally less than 5 minutes to post it.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the more reactions you get, not to turn this to the social media aspect, but the more reactions you get on a post, or the faster the reactions are, the more viral Facebook makes it. Facebook is what actually dictates what goes viral with their algorithm. So
Yeah.
if you have a post that goes like an hour or two with no likes, it's probably not going to go any aspect of going more than that.
Yeah.
But if you post something and you immediately get a laugh react, if you can get
Yeah.
anything but like a laugh react, a like react, it's going to be seen by more people. And the more and more people do that, and the more people that comment, it's going to be seen by more people.
So
and being
organize
funny.
your office to respond to all of your social media posts right
Right.
when they
We
happen.
have to placate the social media overlords, like everything.
But it was the same thing.
YouTube, don't punish us for this, please.
The way I grew up, the crypto mining business that I had, we spent $0 on marketing, and all the money that we got that people threw at us was literally just from me posting on social. And I wasn't even asking for money either. It was just like, hey, can you build me a rig or build it and manage it for me and all that stuff? And it just grew into a business.
Let me
Just
ask,
from the money I've already spent, I just posted on social. This is what I'm doing. Granted, there are some people from a content creator and influencer standpoint that take it to the next level, where they buy, like, they have these numbers justified in their head, and sometimes it does work for some people, where they'll buy a Lamborghini and post on social for the people who are, because they're trying to sell some bullshit marketing course or business course.
Ty Lopez.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the first version of it in my
Here we
garage.
Here
In
we
my
are in my
I
garage.
read 100
Knowledge.
books. I read 100 books a
Here
day.
we are. Here we are with this rental.
Knowledge.
From
Extremely-
McDonald's.
He actually owns that.
Impossible.
So as much as of a jerk and POS he is, he actually owns that. But anyways, there are people who make justification by spending $250,000 into a supercar for purely social media posts. And I saw one the other day of a guy who bought a jet, and his business like 6x'd in profit sales because he posted a picture. And how did
All
he
of a
need
sudden, he had more credibility because he had the jet.
Yeah, it's kind of
That's
it's BS in a way.
Such a stupid world sometimes.
Yeah.
It is.
Such a dumb.
Humanity is definitely taking steps back.
Now, But that guy is making money from his jet because he does put it up for charter, which is actually the
Sure,
smart way to
sure.
do.
Yep.
Let it make money for you. But again, it was the whole premise of I have a jet picture behind me.
Well, Grant Cardone has $1 million door on his jet, right? So that's
Oh, that side by side comparison for what he was 10 years ago to what he is today.
versus spending
Oh,
money.
God.
Oh, ridiculous.
Why do you need AirPods, bro? The phone comes with its own. And then 10 years later, it shows him like, yeah, I spent $1 million on this door frame on my private jet. It's just fun. Anyways,
It's ridiculous.
It's it's crazy what you spend money on. But let me ask you this: what has been the purchase that hurt you that made you make the rule?
what have I bought that has been not worth it? I don't know.
I
Because
mean,
I'm
there's a whole
perfect.
closet full of like
I'm
stuff.
perfect in every way. That's all mostly Strato stuff.
Yeah,
And
I don't know.
foam.
That's a good question.
For Lux, which we have
yeah,
gone
we
through
do.
a lot.
Mine
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not one purchase. It was probably a series of purchases. I purchased a bunch of film equipment, and not like video equipment. I'm saying like film photography, and like I was trying to like hack the system. I was like, because I was really bad at editing at the moment, or at the time, and I was also only able to afford like APS-C cameras, which is like a smaller sensor version of smaller sensor cameras. And so I was like, oh wait, well, I mean, film cameras are full frame, and they're also, all the editing is done because it's film. And so I started like taking pictures with that, and so I just
trying to
went nuts
compensate.
because I was like, I purchased all these lenses because they were cheap, and I purchased a couple cameras because they were real cheap, and then like I got into it, and then it turns out like I was gonna have to like double or triple my prices if I was gonna make that sustainable, because shooting a roll of film costs what the roll of film costs what the developing stuff is gonna cost if you're gonna do it, like all the chemicals and stuff, or if you're gonna have someone else do it, it's like $13 per roll, which is, and then you have to find someone to do it, and then it's gonna have a crazy long turnaround time because you have to like go drop it off, then go pick it up, and then you still have the file. So it's just like trying to making cheap purchases to try to work my way around something was a big mistake, and that kind of taught me a lot. And then like there's a lot of things in photography and video that you have to experiment with them. And so one thing that I really hated was like I purchased a shoulder mount, and they're like $600, and I used it for a year, and my shots suffered for a year, and it frustrated the crap out of me.
So you used it because you spent the $600.
I used it because I spent the $600, and I also was trying out something that I was trying it out from the get-go, but like the fact that I stuck with it just, I used something that was outside of my workflow, and I made myself keep using it
because you had spent the money.
Because I spent the money on it. And so I was just like, never again. So things that are outside of my workflow are like,
well, and it gave you clarity. So that was a $600
learning
choice that made you set a rule for next time.
Yeah.
I remember one day when Aaron called me randomly and was like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this new camera. And then he just like talked to me for like 20 minutes, right? And I just sat there with it on speakerphone. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. And he's like spewing all this technical stuff. And he's like, well, it would be this, but then it could be this. And then it'll be this, but it could be this, right? And he's like selling himself back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I said, by the end of it, I was like, sounds like you made your decision. It's like, I think I have. It's like, all right, cool. I'll talk to you later.
So I need to invoice you for that psychiatrist appointment you had.
And then you were like, I guess I just needed to talk it out. It was like, there you go. You're welcome.
So worst purchases.
I don't know. It's hard, man. It's hard because describing what I'm describing was the times we didn't spend the money and there was opportunity cost to not doing it, right? Like to not doing ads or to not getting in front of people. I mean, all the time. I mean, it's like right now, it's like, hey, we got to get our new version 4 of the website up so we can start running ads again, right? And running ads on Google is going to make sure we don't die in our relevance, right? So
this is version 5.
Version 5. There you go. So that's an example, right? That's like, all right, that's a pain point that's holding us back, but we don't know how much business we're missing like right now at this moment because we're not actively running pay-per-click.
Yeah, our ads for Fresh Move went down the crap because our website just wasn't updated and all that stuff. And I turned off ads because it just wasn't bringing the money. Doing so, now obviously it didn't hurt. We're not hurting, but that's a potential revenue that's
there's
lost.
Opportunity costs there, right? We don't know how much is out there that we're not getting. Cody, you sounded like you were about to say something.
Yeah. So again, client acquisition. I decided to pay an organization. Thought it was a good idea. I got sold on pretty much. It pretty much was just a contacts list. But the way they described it, it was like artificial intelligence, and I was like, okay, like cool, I can see this working, and you can do that. Not one lead. Spent $3,000.
Crappy data.
Absolutely crappy data.
That hurts your feelings.
And it's a 1-year contract, so you have to pay. And it's like if you try to cancel, it's like I understand. Like I acknowledge that I'm on a 1-year contract if I want to cancel, because if you don't cancel within 60 days of your 1-year contract, it auto renews. So it's like all up front. Their demo was like, oh, you can do all this really cool stuff. I mean, front end looks great. Their data, absolute garbage.
Which is the real product. So that's
that's the real problem. So
now I think about it, we didn't do it for Fresh Move. We did it for Lux, but we did the LinkedIn.
It generated Nothing.
Zero.
Yeah.
That market
but
doesn't make
sometimes-
sense.
Yeah,
But
sometimes you
it,
gotta.
it made me realize the people who make the purchasing decision for our product are for these large scale companies. So all these Fortune 500 companies were like, we want to do business. I made a huge list of all these agencies that I want to work with. Like, I would love to have Budweiser, naming any other Fortune 500 brand, Lockheed Martin. I'm just trying to think of the top of my head. For them to buy metal cards from us in any form or fashion. And then we found this lead source that goes on LinkedIn and does a fairly decent job as far as getting connected with those people to make those buying decisions. And we went after the auto industry, and it got I have a shit ton of connections now on LinkedIn in the auto industry, but it generated zero interest, because what I realized is that the people who make those purchasing decisions for metal cards in any space is actually not the company. It's the agency, the market agency they hire.
Yep.
So we have to convince
It's the third party.
Yeah, it's the third party that makes that decision that then brings the idea to them, because they rely on them to make all those decisions.
So for Lux, it's better to connect with creative agencies that are connected to these big brands.
And most of those are actually people I don't even read on LinkedIn. But like when it comes to Amazon, I've never worked directly with Amazon. Amazon's a client technically of ours, but that was for a third party. That was for a marketing and print agency that managed to handle all that.
Interesting.
Tom Brady, that wasn't a lady that worked physically for Tom Brady. It was a agency that was hired by Tom Brady to do the launch of his Brady brand.
Interesting.
Porsche, though, we worked directly with. Every collegiate school every school we worked with, that was directly, because colleges are a bit different. Actually, I realized colleges technically don't have marketing agencies. They usually have internal people, college students. It's a part of the program that does that for them. But every other big name brand that we've worked with has always been through some other agency.
So that was the lesson, right?
But it is. But sometimes it's different. Like when the Disney company reached out, that was an email. When I got an email from the Disney, I was blown away. It was like, I'm speaking to someone from Walt Disney. But that was a very more exclusive club thing that was more private. And I think because they want to do like these RFID cards for their Club 33, which I don't know if you guys know about. You know what Club 33 is with Disney?
I think I've heard about it.
It's when you have fuck you money and you love Disney. So you pay, I think it's a $60,000 fee to join, and then it's like a $15,000 or $30,000 a year fee after that. But you get all these exclusive things to Disney, front of the line. You skip all the peasants in line as far as when it comes to that.
Is it strictly related to Disney World, or is it like
anything related
movies,
to Disney? Anything
go to
related?
premieres
It's
and
mostly park related type stuff, but it's anything Disney. You are the
makes me a little nauseous.
Yeah.
Well, now they have
Just a wee bit.
they have metal business cards now. Right?
Well, they
Or
haven't-
metal members.
They never ordered from us.
Never ordered.
Actually, I don't know
Why
if
are
they.
you giving them time then? We shouldn't even. Be
I'm just
plugging
saying
them.
the way they reached out. But see, this is how the.
No, I get what you're
No
saying.
one's watching our podcast that makes that amount of money to decide I'm going to sign up for Club 33.
I'm just saying, I'm really glad we got our 5-minute segment in on Lux Metal Card, because we should make a plug for Lux Metal, because every
The show is
episode we
sponsored
do.
by Lux Metal.
Sponsored by Lux Metal Card.
Gotta show an ad. up
Brought
here.
to you by Lux Metal Card.
So, but my point was that when we did that, I was sold. Like Cody said, he was sold.
Yeah.
And he showed the data, and I don't hate that company.
Yeah.
It was a $3,000, actually a little bit more, $4,000 mistake on our end. It made us, maybe it wasn't a mistake. It made us realize and learn who actually makes the decision factor for that particular product.
Yep.
And it's not the companies themselves for 95% of the time. Yeah. It's the ad agency that makes that decision, that come up with all these creative ideas. It's usually never the company. It's the ad agencies that make
Do you
the
feel like that
decision.
service would have worked if you would have targeted ad agencies, or?
Well, here's the thing:
maybe.
is
I don't know.
maybe, but the thing is, I just need to. This is why we need to finish that booklet. We can do that ourselves. I don't need them to do that, because then now it's like we just figure out that list and we send them our product. It's that simple. So that's why we're working on like that nice book catalog, and then have a list of new samples in there, and then they can buy. But that it just made me. It was a $4,000 education lesson. That's what it was.
Yeah, so it seems like that's typically what people try to sell because that's what people are. It seems like that's what people are the most willing to spend money on, is like client acquisition, because it's like that's the closest thing to
a direct return on investment that you could have.
Yeah.
That's like, hey, when you run a Google ad, theoretically, you get the right percentage of conversions that turn into qualified leads that will convert into clients, right? And the return on investment is directly tied to that. I mean, that's why like my inbox is like filled with cold emails from people, because all of our, the emails on the website go to me, so they get scraped.
He doesn't know how to hit unsubscribe yet.
They get scraped by bots online, and then they get sent to me cold emails every single day, right? Whether I unsubscribe from them or not, new ones will come in.
Help you with that.
Yeah, I'm also not trying to have everything filtered to the point where I miss emails, right? So we could talk about it maybe, but to that point, and they're all like, "Hey, you want more clients? Hey, you want more clients?" Because they know we're an agency. You want more clients, right? And they're always selling things.
So I guess
no, I don't want more clients.
In terms of client acquisition, buyer beware.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the thing with client acquisition is there's a lot of I think there's more bad data that is sold in that space than is actually great data. There are so many services I see where we generate this many leads. A lead is like, could be anything. Could just be, anyone can call it a lead. Like, what's your definition of a lead? Is it warm? Is it cold?
Is it qualified?
Is it high? Is it qualified is the biggest one, and then I would say,
does it fit your audience?
75% of the time they're not qualified, because if it leads with that easy, it's a very tough industry to find.
That's why marketing is so scary, man. Marketing. I think that's why new business owners are hesitant to spend money and are prone to like standing on the edge of that cliff of dying in irrelevance or jumping off into marketing, because it's like there's not a lot of guarantees.
As much as I hate saying it, because it's where most marketing companies start, but it's the cheap services that people who sell $500, $200 social media services. And I know that's kind of where we started out, but we weren't that cheap. The problem is when you buy cheap, you get cheap, and then of course the client's not going to be satisfied with the results, and they don't continue. Now they have this misconstrued reality of, wait, I paid this person $500 and get what I want, and then, or if they do go to an agency that does charge a premium price but still delivers the same level of results, they have this misconception of reality as far as, oh, I've spent the cheap money, I spent the expensive money, and I haven't gotten results anyway.
It's a minefield.
And all you did is you were sold from two different people that had probably the same level of principles. You're just asking the wrong questions.
Okay, so big question then. Big question. How do you spot marketing agencies that are going to work, in your opinion? How do you spot marketing that's going to work?
Well, here's one thing, is, are they salespeople? True and true. Like, there's a difference between salespeople and data people. I don't hate data people.
Sure.
Problem is that people who see, you could see data all you want and then try to adjust things, but at the end of the day, it's combining data and sales, which could obviously just be copy related, and merging those two together. The ones that do that do well. You can have data all day long, but you don't know the reason why the data is that data.
Yeah.
Like what influences someone's buying decision power, and there just comes an emotional factor to that. So,
I would say it's one of the trends we see in our industry is how many national agencies are being built on the concept of drilling down into one niche and pumping out cookie cutter content for that niche. And like, for example, it's an ad agency that only does things for auto dealers, right, throughout the country, and that's all they do. Or they only do it for plumbers or electricians, right, and that's all they do. And it's actually interesting to me how many times I've seen somebody sign up for one of these services that are not cheap. They're like, price point wise, pretty similar to what we would charge, but they're sold.
Sometimes.
But they're sold by these national agencies. We know your space better than anyone else because we've done it for all these different markets right across the country. And what they've done, if they basically just cookie cutter websites, cookie cutter content, cookie cutter ads for every single person around the country, and there's been horror stories out of that. Like, for example, one particular person I was working with, that had this third-party agency that was a national agency that took their Google listing and actually like sold it to a competitor after they stopped working together, which is against Google violation. I mean, it violates Google's policy, everything, because Google says, hey, if you're a third-party agency, you need to give the business owner the right to get their listing because it's representing their brand, right? And so it is a national agency that did something incredibly sketchy that ultimately hurt this business and helped a competitor within their same space. So that's where I have a deep level of distrust, right, for those kind of agencies that are out there versus us, where we're, doing everything custom and connected to the brand, and we're really like trying to understand why they're in business and what they're doing, and then conforming that to a strategy to ultimately convert qualified leads.
And to expand upon that, these cookie cutter approaches cannot work in every market because buying decisions.
I saw that this specific thing happened recently where there was a real estate team that is extremely successful and went with a marketing agency that only handles real estate teams marketing, and they got sold on that but then the actuality was just an abject nightmare. But anyway, sorry.
So the problem is that you have different buying decisions and thoughts and feelings and emotions and all that stuff in different markets. The way you sell a product in New York City to that type of crowd would not match to the people in the city of Richmond or
totally.
even down in Miami. Totally two different types of vibes. Coca-Cola learned this the hard way, and then they shifted, and now they've killed it. The level and type of marketing and the way they talk about
worried they were going out of
I was worried Coca-Cola.
They're not going out of business.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The way they target the demographics down in South America when they were first expanding to there, they were using the same type of marketing they did in the States, and it did not sell a single thing. And I don't know I forget exactly what they did, but they adjusted, and then they focused more on that market and that economy.
And their cultural values.
And that cultural values,
yeah,
which are totally different.
Yep.
It's listening, isn't it?
Obviously, it's listening.
No, it's listening to your client. I think that's what you need to be looking for.
And now they sell Coca-Cola really well there, and it changes. Mr. Beast, to bring up your boy here, he has started launching his channels using his same content and having it being dubbed over. So like he launched a Japan version, a Japanese version of his channel, and it's blowing up because he hired a really well-known celebrity in Japan, not really well-known here, but some anime voiceover artist to dub all his videos. So he pays them tens of thousands of dollars, but now people who are in Japan who are watching his content know and recognize that voice. His videos are they're already viral type, but now they're going more viral in Japan because they hear that celebrity aspect.
Wow.
Very smart.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So again, it's knowing the audience for that segment can help a ton.
And since this
and that's worth the money being spent.
And since we're talking about money, I do want to share a couple traps to your point of like when somebody's picking a marketing company, specific a marketing agency, traps they could fall into. And one of them is what you just described, right? That team paying a company, right, to do marketing for them. One of the things that every business owner should ask is, do I own what you make for me? That's a big question, right? Do I own the website? Or am I essentially renting the website from you? Which there are a lot of agencies out there, especially in the real estate world, where that's what they do. They sell to teams, hey, we'll do a website for you, all these things, but you're really just renting the website from them, which means when you break the connection, right? You break the contract, you lose the website.
You find that a lot with brokerages too. Brokerages that offer tons of value.
Yeah.
When
Does
they
all
make
that
it
go
very
away.
difficult to disconnect.
There you go. And then, when you do a video, when somebody does a video for you, right? Do I own the video, or do I have to pay you licensing on the video? Or do I have to pay you things, right? Do I own the photography? Do I own the graphics, right? All those things are important, right?
Quick note in terms to any audience, because this is such an unknown thing in terms of photo and video licensing. Unless the videographer, not even unless the videographer is is a dedicated employee of said agency, unless they have physically signed a separate contract that says that you own this, you own what they shot for you, you do not own what they shot for you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So photography, and there was actually a big lawsuit about a monkey that took a picture.
I remember you telling me about
right?
this.
Yeah. So a monkey took.
I remember this.
Yeah.
This is the most
Monkey took the-
ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah. So it's so the monkey accidentally takes this picture, and the court rules in favor of the monkey because the monkey had ownership, and so this photographer couldn't make.
Well, there was also another story where a
The
photographer.
question: who the hell
took a-
sued on behalf of the monkey?
I'm not
The
sure.
state.
I want to slap
you
that
know.
person.
Probably PETA. I
There
don't
was
know.
another version of that where
Uh,
someone took a picture. I think it was the White House or somewhere in D.C. and she put it up for free use. And then it was who's that major site for photos?
Shutterstock.
iStock.
One of them.
Mhm.
So
Getty?
she put it on her page or whatever. She took the picture, but she put it on free use, and then they took it off the free use site and then resold it, and they got the rights for it because as a free use picture, they bought it for reused licensing.
Interesting.
So she lost the lawsuit, even though she was the original photographer that took the picture. But since she gave it away for public use, yeah, I think it was Getty Images. I think that's what it was.
Getty.
yeah.
That sounds like a Getty
Which
thing.
is
Yeah.
crazy.
But anyway, yeah, just so you know, like unless
It's a petty
they
thing.
sign,
Get it?
unless
Getty?
they
Petty?
sign something over to you, or there is a receipt for ownership,
Mhm.
not for services rendered.
Yep.
Ownership is the key term
Yep.
there. You don't own those.
So does that mean we technically own all the content that we have shot? 'Cause
No, no, because that's another conversation, right? But in everything that's signed, right, when they sign the contract, they own. When they sign the proposal, they're gifting us portfolio rights, right? But they own the stuff we shoot for them. So when I go over to one of our clients and shoot a headshot, right, in that contract, they own it.
Yeah,
So-
you're doing the services rendered. They own the product at the end of it.
Yeah, but the point I was getting to with that initial conversation is
Anyway, yeah.
is ultimately like you need to know if this big asset that you're going to spend money on, like a website that's a foundational component of your digital footprint, is going to ultimately be yours if you were to switch to another agency. That's
And
important
don't
to
forget
know.
about
Yeah.
infrastructure licensing, coding licensing. Like there's so many different licenses for code.
Yeah.
Fonts.
Font,
You can't just use all the fonts.
So
Yeah.
the thing with
You
money,
can't just use all the fonts everywhere.
the thing with money in business is that this podcast could turn into a 10-hour podcast alone,
easily.
or multiple episodes. So that want to bore the people. I think we did cover a ton of stuff though when it comes to money and podcasts. It's just understanding what makes sense to you, and don't be all butthurt. You can be butthurt for maybe 2 minutes, but then get over yourself and then move on if you made a mistake.
Well,
And
and
if
then
you-
set, to your point, rules help, right?
Create a
if you
rule.
have like a value choice
So-
within you that says,
Mm.
hey, this is where I'm going to spend money, or this is where I'm not going to
So-
spend money.
If you buy something
Stick to it.
physical, you technically, most of the time, 95% of the time, you can resell it. So if you do make a mistake, there's a good chance you can recoup
Yes.
the vast majority of that cost.
Yep.
On the other end, where you're
Especially
buying,
in photography, you can sell a lot
Right.
of your stuff.
on the other end, where you're buying a service-related thing, that's much harder to do. That's why when it comes to something like that, you need to do more of your due diligence on something. And if you really want to know, is finding those people and asking for references and actually speaking to those people. There's only so much it can be convoluted as far as in a Google review or the case studies they put on their fucking website, which obviously, granted, we put case studies obviously in our favor, but what are the failed projects that company has? So it's just getting down.
And if they don't have failed projects, then they're not actually a company.
Right. If
Because every company does. Yeah.
yeah. So obviously they don't promote it, and I know we have. The ones that are failed, it's just usually a lot of times it's that the client doesn't have enough money in that space to advertise because it's so competitive that you're competing. Insurance is a prime example. Like independent insurance reps, for them to do Google ads makes absolutely no sense because the average cost per click is $150 to $200. And in that space, there are so many people that are just tire kickers or looking that they'll click on an ad and like, nah, next company. So that's $200, and now you're competing against Geico and
the companies
drop,
that have
dropping a
economies of
bucket,
scale.
they can just drop $1 million and not blink.
So
advertisement
in that
fund.
space, and we've done ads and stuff relative. Anytime we've done something that's related to insurance, it tends to fail when we do the Google ads because the client does not have the budget to compete.
Yeah.
If they had the budget, yes, we totally could compete. So it's just there is a dollar figure that comes into that to where if you don't have the money to spend, it takes money to make money. Yes, it's just knowing where that threshold's at.
So real quick, let me ask this question on instinct, and let me get everyone's answer. What is, in your opinion, the most intelligent place to spend money?
Crypto. I'm just kidding.
After the price of Bitcoin's drop by
It's going to
50%.
continue to
The market's dropping.
For me, in my opinion,
Wine.
it's spending money
and
on
bad coffee.
people, because people are the capital in our business that's very valuable, right? That's the asset, is we're work for hire, right? People are paying us, and our people are ultimately executing on it.
I heard.
So,
I was listening to some content about developing your employees rather than devouring them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't recommend that you eat your employees.
Yeah, it's not a good.
It's
strategy.
highly illegal.
It's they don't taste very good either.
All right, so you're going around,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
Ryan.
I would agree, because what is a company? It's just a group of people. That's what it is. So it's spending money on that, and then the quality of life for that employee does play into effect because they're humans. They have stress and whatever. What things can you do to alleviate that level of stress and make things easier? I'm not saying to make it where it's like nothing's ever stress free. If it is, then you're not making money. I can say that. If there's no stress involved, then money's not being made. So unless you're in a different certain type of industry, and we won't go down that route. But so yeah, I would agree with what James said. It's into people, but there's a lot of things you can though expand upon that, and that comes down to the things you do into the work environment, the place they go to work. Like if we were in next in Section 8 housing area for freshman media, I don't think we would have a lot of clients show up. It's just, and then it's just not a safe environment.
So location.
No, that's not the reason. It's just I'm just expanding upon his thing. There's a lot of things that factor into the human component, but you also have to protect the human component, not devour them, but make it easier for them, so they can be more productive.
So what's your instinct?
Don't buy beanbag chairs because they're inconducive to the work environment and cause you to sleep. Because it makes you want to sleep. Because I almost fell asleep on them yesterday.
A 10-minute nap
all right,
increases
Cody?
productivity.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Different perspective on people. Training.
Yeah.
Knowledge
base.
Knowledge base. Well, not just that,
Yep.
but again, I'm going to go back to policies and procedures. Training people because they're the greatest assets, but they're also your greatest threat.
Yeah.
Because a disgruntled employee is an insider threat, and if they're not happy with you, you're
Start
not
their own
spending
business.
good money
Yeah.
on those people, though they can tear a business down from the inside out.
There you go. Threats.
I've got a couple things. So in terms of improving yourself, education, right? I'll spend on education right away. If you're and that's really important for any business that is product based, right? You're a business like a photographer who is very dedicated on providing the best product possible all the time. So education is going to stretch way further than gear.
So I can see why your response is that compared to his, because your business is mostly solo versus this business is mostly people. Know that you have people, but that goes both ways. So like when I started in sales, obviously with doing Cutco and all that stuff, I invested a ton of money into education and training into sales, like doing Tony Robbins and books and all that stuff. I spent a tremendous amount of money, and it was well worth that investment. But that was my perception at the time, was investing
Because you were investing in yourself. That would
because
provide,
I was
you are the business,
return on
therefore you're a
investment.
person.
I
not
was the
people in
product.
business.
I was the person. I was the product.
Which is also with your new hire, right? You're also trying to make sure that the product is of equal or similar value
Meets
to
your
what you would
standard.
deliver, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why investing in training her the right way and developing her to get the same result. Well, we for time purposes, we should move to
Our next segment,
the
ad review.
ad review.
Oh, you guys are enjoy this one.
So Cody, this was you.
Maximum Jackman.
We kind of actually stumbled upon this. We were doing audio testing.
Yeah, we're doing audio testing. Saw this ad and thought this would be perfect for our ad review. So let's go ahead and play it.
Firstly, let me say, Hugh, that we are delighted that you love R.M. Williams boots.
I'm actually, in love. They're great. They're amazing.
Great.
Really?
This makes this next bit a little awkward.
Oh, we're on the same team here, mate.
While we appreciate how literally you've taken the clause that stipulates you can only wear R.M. Williams.
My word is my bond. When I say I'm in, I am all in, And honestly, it's me who should be paying you. It's a privilege. It is. It's a privilege.
That's lovely to hear. I do want to note that you are allowed to, and we highly encourage you to wear other clothes.
I mean, look at this. Look at
clothes in general, not just.
Hang on. Look at this. It's one beautiful piece of leather. Beautiful stitching, and they're comfortable. I mean, the balls of my feet just feel like they've died and were widely mourned and just went to ball heaven, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Seriously, it's changed my life.
80 handmade processes, but I think you may be missing the point.
Oh, no. I hear you. Don't worry. Loud and clear. Only R.M. Williams.
Yep. Are you going to stand up now?
Hang on a sec. Oh. What is this?
It's a new chair.
A new chair.
It was.
Awesome. You should be sitting. Honestly, you should sit in there.
You can have that. Gonna burn it.
Everything at R.M. Williams is just so comfortable.
Just so comfortable.
But everything is comfortable.
The lighting in this is just it's extremely overexposed.
But the thing
Which is
about this
crazy.
the ad is that the whole point is that it's such a great feeling boot. You don't need to wear anything else. That was the sale behind it. It's so comfortable. You don't need anything else. And it's obviously Hugh Jackman taken to the extreme, obviously, but being funny and quirky with it. So.
Yeah. Light on a technical
Like, look
part.
at all the lighting over here. Like, I just like I don't know.
camera
Just
angles are great.
very bright.
Some of that's the TV, but it does look
Is it?
like his collar is maybe a touch blown out. That could be it. So they were going for a high key look, and what they did, I'm fairly certain, is that they put diffusion on the other side of that window, and they have big lights hitting the
Simulating sunlight.
going through, simulating sunlight, and then if they could have used
I actually
the logo
like
placement and everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like the subtle nod to Austin Powers with the naked scene in Austin Powers, right? Where there's like
Wow.
the bowl of fruit that's covering, right? The shoe
Oh,
is
yeah,
covering.
every
his head is
every shot
covering.
is covering something.
yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty good.
very funny. Did
Very
it sell you?
I don't know. I gotta
don't
check
have a
those.
pair.
I gotta
I
check
don't have
those
it. I
boots
don't have
out.
Did
I don't
anybody
know.
pay attention
Well,
to the
if
boots?
I got the boots, I'm probably gonna wear clothes with them.
Yeah.
I'll
probably.
say that.
Only in public though.
Yeah. Interesting. So, all right. So, are we doing thumbs up or thumbs down? Did
It's
it
a
make
thumbs
the
up.
sale?
It's-
Did it make
Did
the
it
sale
make the sale?
I'm
on
a,
the boots?
I'm a quarter of a thumbs up because I don't.
Do I want the boots? To be honest with you, I'm ambivalent on the boots.
See, I'll
I don't wear
say
boots.
I'm
I'll
not-
say
I'm
I've
not sold.
never worn boots. I've never been interested in wearing boots. So I don't think it got somebody like me. Now, I might not be their target audience, right? But
I mean, I do wear boots a lot, but those aren't my style of boots that I wear. But it was funny. But who knows how much those cost? But is it going to convince me to buy that product?
I'm not visiting the website from this ad.
fair
Yeah.
point.
That's
I'm
fair
watching the ad again.
point. I mean, it's a brand
I'll watch
awareness.
the ad. Yeah, I'd
I'll,
watch
And
sh-
the
you-
ad
I would
again.
share it.
And you would
Hey,
share
Aaron,
with people,
Hey, Aaron,
right?
how
Brand
many
awa-
views
so-
has this gotten?
In terms of brand awareness, mission accomplished.
It accomplishes that, right?
Because
it
you
means
did-
that
Five
you
million.
paid a celebrity, right,
Yep.
to capitalize on their humor and their reputation to get it out there.
If I'm shopping for shoes and I see R.M. Williams now, I'm gonna pay attention to but that's a separate. This is brand awareness. They didn't sell anything regarding.
Yeah, that's all it
The
is.
boot.
Yeah. So in terms of brand awareness, yeah, I think it succeeded.
As far
in
as
terms
selling
Well,
of-
it's got 5.4 million views, right? So it's certainly
For what, 2 years?
yeah, that's pretty solid. People know this company exists now. So for that reason, I would say
I'd give it,
yes.
because
I
I
would
think
say
that's what
It's
they
a
were.
good ad,
I
but-
think
It's a good
that's where
ad. I wouldn't buy it because it's
I
just
think
not
that's
my
what they were-
flavor. But
That's
yeah,
what they're
it's a
going
good
for.
ad.
Though. Yeah.
I think that's what they did. What they're aiming for. The mixed lighting there drives me a little nuts. But anyway,
Yeah, that's why I asked about it. It just seemed a little.
well, I don't like that they have they have the natural blue light coming in, and they have the orange contrast. And I know they're they did it completely intentional. I'm just not a fan of that kind of lighting typically.
Fair enough.
All right, I got a meme.
Well, one thing I really want to show because I think it's hilarious. Can you type in Breaking Bad and then Avengers?
Oh yeah.
I don't think Aaron, you would appreciate the level of editing. It's about a minute long.
It's actually incredibly well edited.
Yep.
Cool.
This is the best thing ever.
2.5 million views in 7 days.
Yep.
Oh, volume's not there. This is the greatest thing. This is a hilarious edit. Well done.
This kicks like a mule with his balls wrapped in duct tape. Wow! Tight, yeah! Blue, yellow, pink. Whatever, man, just keep bringing me back. I don't even know who you are. Damn, man, look at that! I knew it. Nobody moved Crystal in the South Valley but me!
So if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, you might not understand that reference, right? But if you've seen Breaking Bad, Aaron's sitting here like, I have no idea what's happening.
Wait, have you seen the Avengers?
Yeah, but if
Okay.
you've only seen half of
the
it,
fact
you
that
don't
they cut that in is
The
pretty
lighting that was done, if you go back a little bit further into it,
It's a great edit. It's a great edit.
like
edit,
keep
yeah.
going. It's more like more. It's the part where not this one, right here. No. Where you just were, right here.
Might as well just wait.
Yeah. Pause. The lighting.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know if you guys. The lighting, the way that scene and the way the sun is pointing is literally matched exactly. It just looks like it's natural.
Scene to
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, no, that's
so-
really well done. So yeah, for Breaking Bad fans and Avengers fans, it's an
hilarious.
hilarious
It's
edit.
hilarious.
It's
All
a
right.
really well done edit. All right, so
Time for
lastly,
meme to wrap.
the meme review.
Cody, I think you picked this one out.
Yeah, for the people who like getting busy, make sure you have your protection because viewing websites in HTTP versus HTTPS is dangerous.
That's
So
right. Never put your information into a website
Or your,
that doesn't have
Don't even visit
HTTP.
websites.
or your website.
Interesting. I
Your
didn't know
website
that.
might get pregnant.
Well-
In the top corner, it'll say not secure.
not secure.
Not
Oh,
So
okay.
Firefox actually just released a new update for cookie protection, and it's they've just boasted of being the most secured browser. So if you don't use Firefox, use it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
All
I
right,
like
so
Firefox.
well, I didn't use Firefox, but Chrome all the way. Not really. All right, that concludes this episode of the Think Fresh Move Forward podcast, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Go spend all your money.